Hello and welcome to another lecture of the course Aquaculture. In continuation to my previous lecture on integrated fish farming, now we will talk about paddy cum fish culture as another example of integrated fish farming. You can call it as fish cum paddy farming or paddy cum fish culture, and what we do as we have discussed in detail that what integrated fish farming is all about. When we integrate one type of culture system to the other type of culture system in order to make more economic benefits, then we call it as integrated fish farming. In the previous lecture, we discussed at length about duck cum fish culture or fish cum duck culture, whatever you can call. Now we are going to discuss paddy cum fish culture or fish cum paddy farming. Here, as the name indicates, we grow both rice and fish. We grow both rice and fish uh, in the same field or body of water. So both type of farming systems are integrated in order to get benefits from both the systems. And since the fish farming has to be integrated with paddy farming, so there are certain places where what happens, there is problem of water retention, more water logging, or heavy rainfall, low-lying lands. So in such places, what happens, there is more water for a long period of time. People have to grow rice. There are certain varieties which can grow in these kind of flooded environment. So when there is water, when there is rice, you are getting rice, but why not utilize the water for some other purpose also? So that water may be utilized for food production in terms of fish farming or fish culture. So that is the concept that people have utilized. And this is practiced in many such parts of the world where rice is being grown, and they are being grown in the area of high water content. So in India also there are many regions like Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, Assam, West Bengal, um, South Bihar, and many places where this kind of fish cum paddy farming is being carried out. So uh, in fact, what happens before coming to the selection of suitable fish species, I must tell you that if the low-lying lands where rice has to be planted, they are having a lot of water available, and if that water is made available for a very long time, then that may also be beneficial at a later stage to rice crop also. So that need to be nearby, but not cause any kind of damage to the rice crops. So, and sometimes the weather is not such that we are having a lot of water and rice needs water. So if you are having that kind of water in nearby trenches or ditches, then you can use for irrigating the rice also. So it all they are having mutual benefit. The rice cum fish culture, when primary focus is on rice or paddy. So how do we go for selection of suitable fish species? Here, since we are discussing the course aquaculture, our main focus is fish culture. So what kind of fishes we should stock? That is something very important. In fact, the first point which I need to consider is they do not need high dissolved oxygen content in the water for their survival. There are fishes you must be knowing. In fact, with regard to uh, you know gaseous exchange or respiration, you know that there are certain fishes which, if you take out from water, then they will die. Like Indian major carps. If you take them out of water, they will die. Why? Because they are unable to utilize atmospheric oxygen. They need dissolved oxygen present in the water for their survival, for gaseous exchange. So, uh, in rice plantation, in the conditions where rice are being grown, we all know that their oxygen content may become low in certain times of the day or of some certain seasons. So we should utilize those fishes which are having the ability to utilize atmospheric oxygen. Oxygen which is present other than in dissolved form of in the water. And there are certain fishes, for example, morels, the Chennai species, soli, sole. These fishes, they have accessory breathing organ, by use of which these fishes, morels, and many other fishes, for example, certain catfishes also, they can utilize atmospheric oxygen. What does this mean? That if dissolved oxygen content becomes low for one reason or the other in the aquatic system where these fishes have been stocked, they will not die. They will utilize atmospheric oxygen and they will survive and grow. So, our emphasis should be to utilize, to select those fish species which can have better survival even in low dissolved oxygen conditions. So, that is one point. Then they should be hardy. They should be hardy, they should be able to tolerate the conditions which operate in the region where you are going to start the culture practice, where you are going to integrate fish farming with paddy farming. So, the conditions there, what kind of parameters are there? There are different fishes which have different levels of tolerance to different environmental parameters. So, you will have to select. First, you should know about what kind of parameters, environmental parameters are there in the region where you are going to start the integrated paddy cum fish culture. Then, you should also go for selecting those fish species which show wider tolerance, broader tolerance to those parameters. And those which show better growth also. Not only tolerance to environmental parameters, fluctuating environmental parameters, but they should show good growth rate so that the entire process is profitable. They should be able to survive in shallow waters. Sometimes the water level in the paddy fields is not that much for providing the fish enough space or enough dissolved oxygen. So, whatever species you are selecting, that should be able to survive and grow in the conditions where there are a lot of limitations with regard to space as well as the availability of dissolved oxygen content. Then tolerance to high temperature conditions, maybe in some places here you can see that it is written about 35 degrees centigrade can also go, maybe sometimes beyond that in some parts. So, the fishes you are selecting that should show a high temperature tolerance, or if you remember my earlier point what I discussed, that they should be hardy to fluctuating environmental parameters, both physico-chemical I am talking, in order to survive and grow. So, these conditions should be met before selecting a species. It's not that in case of ducks, if you remember, I told you that people are doing it with Indian major carps. The normal fish farming is going on, and you can prepare a duck house and start integrated farming, because there you were using the proper pond ecosystem for fish culture. Here, we are not going to use proper pond system for fish culture in case of paddy cum fish culture. So, here conditions will be different. When conditions, aquatic conditions or the conditions of the aquatic ecosystem will be different, then of course, accordingly, you will have to select the species suitable for that particular environment. Then we know that when there is less of water content, and when you have planted rice, for rice plantation we need to have some kind of mud or something to plant the seedlings. Then there may be, due to the muddy bottom, there may be high turbidity. So, these fishes should not have any issues, especially with their survival and other things. to live in high turbidity conditions. What are common species that should be cultured? Again, here people have written, many species that we can culture. Even they have written Indian major carps, Katla, Labiroita, Siranus mirgala, almost all species, major species groups which are being cultured. But in my opinion, that depends a lot on what type of aquatic environment, aquatic ecosystem you are getting in paddy cum fish culture for raising the fish. What is the water level? What is the water quality? How often you are going to agitate the aquatic ecosystem by moving in and out of that aquatic environment for taking care of your paddy. So everything, every such thing, what kind of temperature conditions are there, all these things are going to decide which species you should move with. I talked to you, I gave you example of Channa species. Channa species is very good for culturing in this environment. IMCs you can select only if you are certain that there is required depth in the aquatic system, or where you are going to stock these fishes. You are having enough dissolved oxygen in that and other things for their survival. So, Channa species, Claris species, these you can raise here. You can go for smaller carps like Puntius. You can go, but you do not get good biomass production from Puntius and small fishes. And then you can go for Myogils also, Chenos also, in depending on which environment you are selecting for um, your paddy cum fish culture. So, paddy cum fish culture, remember one thing, why I am telling you all this? Because there is, well designed, people are doing this for long time, and in different places around many countries, in many countries, you will find different kind of paddy cum fish culture practices. I have also seen it in some places that there are certain varieties of rice which are being raised in, as I told you, in the conditions where there is water retention, where there is water logging, and for few months the water remains there up to a certain level. If that is the condition, not too much, maybe 1 feet or so, 1.5 feet, not more than that. Sometimes it becomes 2 feet, depending on the rice variety you are using. So, when water remains there for a few months, why not utilize that for fish culture? And people here, I have seen people doing in villages and remote places, stocking these channa and other smaller fishes in those regions, and getting while harvesting the rice crop, rice plantation, they get additional benefit of this fish crop, and that is very popular. That is not possible when there is only 1 feet or 1.5 feet or 2 feet of water. You cannot go with the Indian major carps or those fishes which are not having accessory breathing organ. That will become a problem. So that depends on the selection of species, depends on which environment you are selecting, what kind of water quality you are going to provide the fishes, and all such related things. What are characteristics of paddy varieties? They have a strong root system, since you are going to do it in water. In fact, there are certain varieties which are for this purpose only. Deep water standing, they should not show signs of that they perish. They should not perish. High water conditions or deep water conditions, capable of withstanding flooded conditions. During flooding also, they should be you know be there fine without getting damaged. And total lifespan is 130 to 180 days. That means about 6 months, right? So, going with these characteristics, there are different varieties which are already available from which you can select for using in your paddy cum fish culture. Um, Here you have Shah Sarang variety, Mandri variety, Manipuri variety, RCPL 175 variety, then Manohar Sali variety that you can use for paddy cum fish culture. Types of paddy fields for integrated system. Now, when you are designing this, the example that I gave you, where 1 feet or 1.5 feet or 2 feet water is there, that was utilizing the water which is present in the paddy field for fish culture. That was not designed one. Here, people, since depending on the conditions, depending on the region, people have designed a way in order to make it giving good productions. So, what are these types? One is perimeter type, another is central pond type, and third one is lateral trench type. In perimeter type, paddy area positioned in the center, modest height, ground slopes into perimeter trenches on all sides to promote simple drainage. So, paddy area is positioned into the center and the water is made available all around that paddy area in which you can stock fishes. And it is made in such a way that whatever excess water is there in the paddy region, that comes out into the aquatic system where you are stocking the fishes. In central pond type, pond is positioned in the middle of the field, right? It is almost reverse. Then pond is positioned in the middle of the field, and then paddy cultivation is done around the pond. So it is the other way around. Paddy cultivation area is on a slope that connects to the pond, but that connection is same, that water, if excess water is there, that it will go to pond. Lateral trench type, pond is on both the sides of the paddy field. Pond is connected to the paddy field only from two sides. So these are the basic designs of paddy cum fish culture, that what kind of designing you are having for both paddy as well as fish culture. Here you can see very easily that the same thing has been depicted through photograph, that in perimeter type, all along the perimeter, you are having the aquatic system where you can stock pond and raise fishes. And in the middle, you are having the field where rice plantation can be done. In central pond type, the pond is at the center and all around you are having paddy plantation. In lateral trench type, on two sides we are having trenches, and in between the two trenches there is the region where paddy will be grown. Site selection, how should we go for site selection? I told you that since we are going to have those flood-resistant varieties of rice, having capacity to grow in deep water conditions. So depending on that, there must be uniform contour. It's not like if the contour is not uniform, then managing any of the culture will be very difficult. High water retention capacity, that is necessary. The water is needed for the high water needing varieties of paddy as well as for fishes. Low-lying fields with high rainfall, so that water is not a problem for the purpose paddy cum fish culture. And drainage, of course, poor drainage, if there is poor drainage or having good drainage facility, that depends on the conditions, but you can use the drainage as per your own requirement. If the drainage is not good, but if water is getting retained for a long time, you can utilize that water. But beyond a limit, if you wish to drain the water out, you can make the provisions. Water source, precipitation, of course, it is usually done in places where there is high precipitation, direct runoff, groundwater, water from irrigation canals, etc. If needed, you can since you are doing it, at a better scale. So that should be profitable. So you should also look for any other water source if required. Field should receive optimally 80 centimeters, since it is not advisable to take water from outside for long, because that may increase the cost. So we should start such kind of practice in those areas which are having good rainfall. Soil characteristics: it should be medium textured, silty clay loam, pH 7.5 to 8.5. Every 100 gram of soil should have, um, usually it should have a range of 50 to 75 milligram of nitrogen, 6 to 12 milligram of phosphorus, and 1.5 to 2.5 gram of organic carbon. Culture procedure: how we should proceed with culture procedure? The same thing what we do for farming practices: soil preparation, then paddy seedling preparation, sowing of seedlings, transplanting seedlings about paddy we are talking, fertilizing the paddy fields, and then stocking of fish fry, manuring and feeding of fishes, irrigation and pest control, fish harvest, and paddy harvest. We will discuss one by one, briefly of course. Building a ditch or pond, where the aquatic system where you are going to stock the fishes, at the lowest point of the land. This is very important. You should utilize the low-lying area of the region where you are going to start paddy cum fish culture, so that you can have the water at that place with maximum depth. So that will be better for fishes to grow. So utilize the lowest point of the land. That is usually not beneficial for paddy varieties. So we use that for growing fish. It should be at least 5 feet deep. They have written at least 5 feet deep, but people are doing, maybe that depends on the availability. If you get such kind of region where 5 feet deep water you can have, it's always good. But if you are not having that deep water, then accordingly you can standardize the kind of fish varieties that you are going to stock and get good growth of these fishes. Dike should be raised. Again, here they have written a minimum of 2 feet, but that depends on the conditions. That depends on in which area you are doing, what kind of waterfall and water availability is there, and what is the quality of the soil in those conditions. Whether the dikes are strong enough, or they are prone to fall off. So depending on many things, you can do it. You can standardize it on your own, depending on the conditions. You can standardize. Pond should occupy 5% of the overall land area. You can follow this, that if you want to make it profitable, then at least 5% of the overall land area you can give it to the pond. Ponds are connected to the canals with the help of ditch to allow fishes to freely move throughout the entire area. In fact, this is important. That is one of the regions where fish will be living, the pond area, the deeper area of that paddy cum fish culture area, the 5% of the overall land area, where you have made almost 5 feet deep excavation having water. So fishes from that deep water will move to other parts of the paddy field where there is water but not that deep. So that will give them movement, so that there is good growth rate. So we can design that accordingly. The procedure should be completed in, that again depends on the region and the climatic conditions and the environment, the variety of paddy and other things. So here in a simple photograph, how ditch excavation is being carried out, that has been shown. That of course will differ from one region to the other, the way things are done, and which kind of aquatic system you are going to prepare. Paddy seedling preparation. We know that first we have to go for paddy seedling preparation, and here the variety they are talking about, before the start of the season, from the last week of November to December, the seed beds should be prepared, and for the growth and development of the paddy seedlings. Again, I should say that it all depends on, don't focus on the time of the year which has been written here. it all depends on the region where you live and the variety of paddy which you are going to select, the variety which can of the rice which can be grown in a specific season. So it depends on the climatic condition or the region where you live. Depending on that, you can have varying months or seasons of the year. So high yielding varieties, like it has been written here, are selected for integrated fish farming. Sowing the seedlings. Seeds should be sown, at appropriate time, I should say, and whatever variety. Again, the timing depends on the region where you are living and the variety. The same thing that I told you earlier. Soil is irrigated and weeds and hazardous fungi, etc., are killed by plowing 3 to 4 times, as we farmers used to prepare the paddy fields. Organic manure should be applied before the final plow. Everything is done. This is a very common, beautiful picture of sowing of seedlings that you will see in the season of rice sowing of the seedlings, plantation of the seedlings. Then transplanting seedlings. After 40 to 50 days, paddy seedlings are ready to be transplanted in paddy fields. So first they are sown, they grow, and then that small delicate plant is taken and then transplanted to another field. Plants are arranged in rows. This allows easy movement and maintains good water quality, dissolved oxygen level, light quality, which are essential to fish life and good production of fishes and rice. Since you are having fishes also stocked, so try to do it in a very proper way. Here you can say that these transplantation of rice seedlings is being done in a straight line. So that provides them proper path to move, the fishes to move, and that provides space to paddy also for good growth. So that thing is done. That is quite common. Fertilizing paddy fields with organic fertilizers or inorganic fertilizers, as it is being done here. Poultry droppings, cow dung, whatever organic waste you are having, that can be utilized for manuring of the paddy fields. One thing must be taken into account, that when we use inorganic fertilizers, they should be in utilizable form, and here we can see here that deep water paddy has a very high nutrient uptake. Why? Because the nutrients which we are providing, that usually gets diluted. Why? Because we are using in deep waters. So ultimately, the nutrients that paddy can take up, that should be taken into account, that what are the recommended doses of inorganic fertilizers or organic manures that we should use. We should follow the proper procedures, scientific procedures, in order to get better production. So that kind of the amount of doses that is applied in the paddy fields which are not in deep waters, the doses of nutrients or inorganic fertilizers or organic manures will not be same for these varieties which are being grown in deep waters. So you should follow the procedure accordingly. Stocking of fish. A small pond is filled with fish seeds. After transplanted paddy seedlings have become well rooted, when they become little stronger, they have strong hold in the earth, then you can introduce fishes. Fish fries are stocked about 5,000 per hectare if you are using smaller fishes, fish fries. Then 5,000 per hectare if you are using slightly larger fish, bigger fish, about 8 to 10 centimeters, what we call as fingerlings. Then we can stock 2,000 per hectare. This should be taken into account so that we do not overstock the area. If we are doing overstocking, then not only food availability will be affected, but the oxygen availability, the chances of disease occurrence, and many other things that can harm your overall objective of the culture practice of integrating paddy cum fish culture. Then fish is stocked. Here fish stocking has been shown, and then here you can see that how paddy field is in the center, and all around fishes are also being raised. Manuring and feeding fishes. Manuring can be done by applying cow dung at 2000 to 3000. Again, these things, the doses, the organic manure or inorganic fertilizer or other things, they all depend on region where you are going to do this. The soil characteristics, the water characteristics, the climatic conditions, the fish varieties you are going to use, all the factors. Then 200 to 500 kg of lime and 5 to 10 tons of cow dung per hectare are used. A mixture of here it is written 200 to 500 kg of lime. For liming, lime is being used, but cow dung, how cow dung is going to be used for liming? No, cow dung will not be used for liming. Only lime will be used. Cow dung will provide nutrients for productivity. A mixture of rice bran and mustard oil cake. This is the most traditional feed that is being used. At 4% of fish body weight can be used twice a day. In fact, here they have given a ratio of 3:1. That means 3 parts of rice bran and only 1 part of mustard oil cake. No, it's not like that. In many parts of the country, traditionally what farmers have been doing, they give 1 part of rice bran and 1 part of whichever oil cake is available in that area. So if you are using 1 part of bran and 1 part of oil cake, always remember that when you are using oil cake, try to soak it overnight so that you can get better. People have reported, farmers have reported that if they soak the oil cake overnight and after that they utilize that as an ingredient of fish food by mixing it with rice bran, then that gives very good acceptability of the food by the fish and very good growth rate. Irrigation and pest control. Regular irrigation is provided up to harvest. Of course, when we are having a lot of water, and if we are not having water somehow, if there is water deficiency, then there should be provision of getting water from some other source, canal or some other source. The pesticide is often applied once at the beginning, as whatever is required for the paddy to be grown, we have to follow all the procedures in order to protect our crop. The safe insecticides, usually we should try to go for biological pest management instead of using chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides. But if that is not possible, then it should be used only in moderate amounts so that it does not harm to consumers. Fish harvesting should be done as the rice is harvested, or 1 to 2 days or a week before. Usually it is said that fishes should be harvested first, then rice is harvested. For harvesting, first the water is drained through an outlet pipe, and what happens that you can have your own ways of taking out fishes, that depending on whether you have drainage facility, proper drainage facility, whether you do not have drainage facility, depending on that you can have, and the kind of fish you have stocked. If the fish is bottom dweller, if the fish enjoys burrowing in the mud, then you will have to drain it out completely. Water has to be drained out then you can catch the fishes which are maybe hiding in the mud. But if you are having the kind of fishes which used to live in open water swimming, then maybe even if it is not drainable, then you can catch all the fishes by many means. Usually people, since a small area, people use bamboo baskets or hand nets or many other things you can use depending on the place you are living and the resources you are having. 200 to 300 kilogram per hectare of fish can be produced during the 3 to 4 months culture in the rice field. 400 to 500 kilogram per hectare of fish can be produced during 5 to 6 months. It all depends on the type of fish you are using, the type of water quality you are providing, the nutrient richness of the food that you are providing. So all these things will determine the production of quantity of fish that you may produce in paddy cum fish culture. Um, some photographs of fish harvesting people have shown. Then paddy is after this paddy is harvested, and there are different harvesting methods and different that will vary on which paddy variety you have used, uh, in which month or which season it will mature, it will be ready for harvesting. Then depending on that, you can harvest it in the season, in the month when it is ready to be harvested. And your entire process of getting paddy as well as rice as well as fish is completed in this integrated fish farming, making the process very profitable. And this is one of the integrated fish farming practices, paddy cum fish culture, which has been popular for for very long time. I think one of the first integrated fish farming practices that could have been carried out um, around many countries. So that's all in the integrated fish farming. I have provided you examples of two integrated fish farming systems: duck cum fish culture and um, paddy cum fish culture. So we will discuss some other topic in next lecture. Thank you so much.